now.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome out to Monday night. It is the Monday Night Chat. We've got MJ, we've got myself, and we've got Mr. T-Pain, John Young.
Wow. Oh, wait, no. That's...
Now, for those of you that are hanging with us, thank you very much for taking time out of your Monday night. We've got some interesting shows tonight, and technology will be our friend. We are going to do our best. Normally, I'm the one with technical difficulties, but tonight, our illustrious boss decided he's going to have some problems, or his computer did.
I think it's possible that they are seeing me fine, and they're hearing me fine. It's just the two of you. So what that's telling me is that tonight's show should really focus on Huey Lewis and the News being played on by Megaseg, because that's what people want to hear.
Kidding me?
That's it.
It's like one really big one.
That's what people want to hear.
They just want to hear John auto-tuned all night.
So if you guys are, do I sound auto-tuned to you, or do I sound as bad as always? Because if I do sound a little like Cher singing Believe, I might have a career in front of me. I'm just saying.
He had to mention Cher, the one that ruined auto-tune.
I know. That's why I had to go right there.
I refuse to play that song.
I think we should.
You think she ruined auto-tune?
Because of her voice. If somebody else would have done it, I would have been happy with it. But the fact that it's tied to her, I just have no interest in
that. And that's why I brought out T-Pain, because to me, I mean, yeah, when I think back to the Cher song, I do, okay, yeah. But I always think of T-Pain, and
she was the first one who did it. On it, like if you look at records, quote unquote, she's the first one who used it in that sense. But I just am not a Cher fan. I'm nothing against her personally. I just don't enjoy her voice and songs and singing and performances. She has great hair. I'll give her that one.
Okay, so that's one out of like 43 things.
We might be a little jealous, but it's okay.
Yeah, there's the one out of 43 things. He doesn't, but that one thing.
I like brunettes. So like you could have like, I don't know, you could have a mop that's technically brunette, and I'd probably like, that's a good looking mop.
And she's almost your age, so it's okay.
No, she's much older. Wow, Daniel.
Whoa, there's that. There's a bus.
I said almost. I didn't mean you could have been either side.
Yeah.
I didn't say she was younger than you.
Jimmy Spin said he got referred to this channel. I'm sorry about that, Jimmy.
Yeah, you got to.
That's called a segue away from being picked on.
Yeah, so tonight's topic, what I wanted to kind of hit on is this is the time of the year for those of us who are wedding DJs. We're getting referrals from people, or we're looking for referrals, or we're trying to get bookings for next year. I was just the very first show tonight talking to Howard Wallstein, who does a lot of bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. He is getting referrals for next year's shows, or a lot of those are coming in. So I wanted to kind of dig into this a little bit from a few different perspectives. We've got Dan and I who do weddings, MJ who is primarily club and does a lot more in that arena, working for different clubs and nightclubs, dance, just
bars and clubs.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of dig into this and then talk a little bit about having you guys kind of share on your experience with referrals. Looking, there's some practices or things we can do that help these things, and there's things we can do that hinder these things, and places we can go and the type of referrals we look to. So we really want to kind of work together tonight in this discussion of how to make this referral thing people always talk about work the best for us as we go forward in the type of events we want to do. So that was my intro. And all they heard was wah, wah, wah because of the auto-tune.
No, you're actually doing pretty good now.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. That must mean that my Apple auto updates on my devices are probably all. There must have been an Apple. When that happens,
you went to 15, didn't you?
Oh, man, no, I actually didn't. I don't. I'm usually one who waits a little bit longer for the major ones. I just, the little ones I jump on pretty quick, but I'm afraid. So
don't blame me.
Before we get into the show too far, though, next Monday night is our monthly virtual DJ night, or virtual training night, virtual DJ, the little faux pas there. It's the virtual training night. We're going to be starting at 7 o'clock Eastern next week. We're going to be having presentations by Perfect Portal and Danny Max. We're going to actually tour Danny Max's new facility, which we just talked about in the last show here on YouTube. You can go Danny showed some pictures of his life. If you have followed Danny Max a little bit here, you got to watch that show because he took us all the way back to his start making brooms. Yes, making brooms. It was a fun little trip. But next week he's going to take us through his new facility, his new 5,000-foot warehouse and construction building shop that he's working on. Then we're going to have a night about weddings. So we're going to be doing the first hour. I've got 4 different guests coming in on a panel, and we're going to be talking about differences in weddings from the East Coast to the South to the Upper Midwest to the West, and kind of sharing a little bit about comparing and contrasting weddings around the country. Then we're going to come at let's see, that'll be at 8 o'clock Eastern. Then at 9 o'clock Eastern, Ron Root's going to come in and talk a little bit. Then at 9:25, Dave Tournier is going to come on and talk a little bit more about really finding your passion and how to hone in on making money on your passion. In this case, in the wedding industry, because that was a huge passion of his. So next Monday night, we'll have links and such, but it's out DJNTV.com/virtual expo. Share that link around for us, please, if you would. So let's kind of start with MJ, because usually that one's easiest when it comes to MJ. When you want to,
are you sure you want to do this? Because I have lists again.
Oh, really? Oh, wait. Lists are okay.
We'll just sit back and you can go. And...
Wait a second.
You realize I do my own show each week where I talk for an entire hour with no help.
But do you have a disclaimer that has to come ahead of the list? That's the big question.
I do not.
Oh, well, then we're good tonight.
The only thing I would say is that I think mine are maybe a little bit. I don't think they're as important as yours are. Mine are just a little different. Mm-hmm. That's all. You're focusing on different people. I'm focusing on different people than you're focusing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what I wanted to kind of show, is that the people that I would focus on, and really even between Dan and I, we may focus on a different type of client that we're looking for referrals from. So that is definitely part of the discussion tonight. Okay.
So you want me to start then?
Yeah, why don't you?
Oh, okay. My networking. Hi everybody. For those who know that was Simpsons, you're supposed to go, hi, Dr. Nick. Anyway, so I'm going to keep going and talking so that it doesn't seem like I was messed up there.
Can we have the disclaimer
networking
now?
For me is a little different than you guys. You guys network with clients. That's your most important thing, the people who pay your check. Well, kind of it always goes with who pays your check, because I don't get paid by people who stand in front of me. I don't get paid by anyone sitting at a table. I don't get paid by anybody in a fancy dress or a tuxedo or anything like that. I get paid by owners and managers. Okay. So you have to impress them. So when I talk about networking, that's the biggest thing. And I have mine split up into 2 different ways, in person and online. Okay. Mm-hmm. So networking is important. Majority of the places out there, bars and clubs, you are hired by a DJ who is running the schedule. So it's like a couple places that I used to DJ at. I was the one who brought in the DJs, ran the schedule, everything like that. So there was never the managers like, long as there's someone here, we're good with that. And that's kind of the way most of them run. Casinos are a little different. So now I'm working with both casinos, and both of them work through, one of them works through a booking agent. The other one they have their own in-office booking department.
Sure.
So I don't deal with owners or managers necessarily. I deal with an agent who then deals with the management, and then they check. It goes that way. And the other one is through the office. Hey, what dates you have available? I send them dates back. They fill me in. I go from there. So those are a little bit different than what I'm about to talk about, but they're still together. So I'm focusing not on a client.
And MJ, let's just hold that thought right there, because there's a one part in there that you mentioned early on, that you're not being paid by the people in front of you or any of those people at the tables. Dan, when it comes to your performances, how does that differ just in that little aspect of it?
Well, obviously, I'm paid by the 2 people that are front and center, the purpose for the day. That obviously becomes a key element. But when we get into referrals, I've got a slightly different viewpoint, I think, than MJ is going to think about with regard to mine.
Because when you mentioned that, he's really, to a point, MJ's not really caring if the people on the dance floor would say, oh, MJ is the greatest DJ or not. He's got a job to do.
It's virtually not going to matter. And I can tell you how many times that I've had people stood there and say they like this DJ or they hate that DJ, and the owner's like, I don't care.
Perfect. Wonderful. That's exactly where I was headed with that. Whereas in my situation, I look out at that dance floor and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this could be 20 20 potential referrals of people who are out there seeing me and liking what's going on, and they come over and they grab a business card, whatever it is. It's just that different way of looking at it. And I wonder at times, because of that, if that might hamstring musical decisions and chances that a person may take musically, because you're so tied into making sure that these people, I may not take a risk because I want to make sure that these people are having the absolute greatest time of their life right now. I've wondered that.
Interesting way to look at it. But there's a level to it. But Dan, I think you're gonna hit it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this was something that was talked about this summer, a couple different the programming places that I heard, and I think it goes back to, and I want to say it was a Jazzy Jeff quote, that basically we're not remembered for the hits that we play, but for the things that make you go, whoa. So I agree. I don't think, I don't think we want to suddenly make it a full night of like shock and awe risk taking, but I do feel that there is an element to that if you want to stand out, you're going to do something that's different than everybody else. Whether that's a risk that you take on a song or two, or whether that's a service that you bring to the table, or how you handle certain things throughout the night, that there needs to be that whoa piece, and that's got to come from some sort of a risk at some point.
You're talking about wooing the crowd, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because again, that's going to be the focus, because you're, as you said, I mean, you referred to this different times in previous shows, that, your ability to do a great job is dependent upon that bar tab at the end of the night, that the bankroll that they pull in, because of how you rotate the floor to keep the drinks going and keep that money there. And for bride and groom, they already paid the open bar. They paid like the per person, so they don't really care if they rotate the floor on a dance or whatever. They want the dance floor. They want that whoa. They want that party. They want that atmosphere. So when we're talking about that, the reactions have to be, I don't say they have to be, but they're going to potentially be different, because in theory, we want to keep people on the floor as long as possible, not rotating.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing with the places I DJ at. There's no such thing as rotating. It's so packed. There's a line out the door. You never rotate. You just keep as many people on the dance floor all night long. And that can be a total failure, chase people off the dance floor. If the manager likes what you're playing and people are leaving, you're the DJ they're going to keep. Because I know places that will put up with fights because the manager's like, well, this is the music we want. But we're having all kinds of fights. We're having stuff, everything's going to haywire.
Yeah.
Like, we want this music. This is what we want. And I've seen other places that go, we don't want that. Change the music. And we've changed the music. People leave and they go, it's exactly what we wanted. There's a play. I was talking about this the other night with the DJ. Place I used to spin at, they wanted to change the crowd. They told me to play all fast music. Nobody wanted to hear the fast music. And people were literally leaving because of the music I was playing. End of the night, I'm thinking, I'm going to lose my job.
Right.
Soon as I shut the speaker off, the manager goes, that's exactly what we wanted. Thank you. So it sometimes has to do with the bar tab. Sometimes has to do with just what the management or owner want.
Now, when you're able to appease the manager of that, do they go and say, hey, talking to another manager from a bar somewhere else, do they say, hey, we have another property, 10 miles away, and say this guy should fill in once in a while over there too? I mean, does that even exist in that arena where one manager,
different owner or same owner?
Probably maybe same owner, or even managers that kind of work together. Let's
do same owner, different venue.
That happens all the time. If an owner likes you, an owner likes you.
Okay.
Now what about
and if a DJ at the place who books you, because I've gotten a referral because this place liked this DJ. They asked this DJ, I need someone for this place. He recommended me. I got that job. So it's all on that end.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about the people. It really has nothing to do with the people other than are they staying there and spending money? And there's places I've had packed, but they weren't spending enough money, so that manager wasn't happy. Line out the door. I want to change the crowd. Completely change the crowd. They're not spending enough money. So the places that I DJ, the casino's a little different because both of them, I know exactly what they want.
Sure.
I know what they want. And it's so easy to drop in when because a couple of places, they just let me do what I want. So we just want fast stuff. We want clean stuff, keep it happy, keep it going. That's kind of all there is to it. But it kind of comes down to you making that connection with a manager, another DJ, and somehow your reputation is rarely going to come off as anything. It's going to be a DJ thinks of you as a good DJ, or an owner, manager thinks of you as a good DJ. Beyond that, you could be, I literally can tell you a place I DJ at, I fill in there. It's the big college place I put the pictures of, okay? There was a DJ that they don't like, who's probably one of the biggest DJs in the city, tours, everything. They just didn't like what he played, so they don't want him back anymore. So it comes down to that. And my one friend said, well, we know the owner's a hip-hop head, so if you don't play all hip-hop all night long, you're not going to be there. That's what they want, all night long. So that's the first part. Networking, in that, to me, all of that comes down to networking. So it happens all long before you DJ. So you're getting your jobs. Dan's leaving. I'm sorry, Dan. You're getting, and if I'm talking too much, I'm sorry, but you're getting your jobs on that sense. It does not have to do with anything other than networking. See, I broke this down in a series. Networking as friends, networking in person, networking DJs, managers, owners, and networking online with the DJs, online with the managers, online with the clubs. You share club posts, you share DJ posts, you like DJ posts, you're constantly, I'm going to share this one. Even though I'm not there tonight, I'm going to share it. It's all about that right there.
Mm-hmm. And it really, that's kind of a form of greasing the wheel is what you're doing there with that building that relationship, and so that they have that positive thought of you're a competent DJ, you know what you're doing, and you stay top of mind to a point by doing that online.
Yeah, and you also it helps you have to be what they're looking for too, because if they're not looking for an old person, if they're not looking, how can I describe this? If they want a certain look for their club, and you don't have it, if it's a dressier place and you aren't seen that way, you're not going to get the job.
Sure.
If it's a place where it's all relaxed atmosphere and you come in with a tie on, you're not going to last. You have to have that look. If they want, I know the casinos hire older DJs as opposed, they don't want a young DJ because they don't trust a young DJ to listen to what they want played.
Makes sense.
DJ's going to go off the deep end, do what they want. Let me show you what cool music is. They don't want that. They want someone who knows this is a corporate run company. You are part of our corporate team. And that's it. So
how does skill fit into that equation when you're trying to keep the managers happy and the owners happy, what have you? Is the skill and the competency to mix and do that, is that highly sought after, or is it more of a following their guidelines of the type of music is almost more important? If
the owner's looking for a talented DJ, talent matters. If the owner wants music played, music matters. Because I know guys who have jobs at places right along. Like they may do a Friday night and the DJ on Saturday does Saturday night. The Friday night DJ is not talented, like seriously not talented. And the Saturday DJ is crazy talented. But they have made a connection with the owner. They like them as a person. They like what they play. It kind of goes in there. So sometimes a manager wants only, I know places where they will not hire someone unless you spend on records, turntables, not like actual vinyl records, like but Serato vinyl.
Sure.
You literally will not get hired there unless you play that. Period. Other places, they don't care at all. So it's, I don't know. It's a tough thing. And I know I'm taking over too much of the conversation because most of you guys care about what Dan's doing. But it's just different, but it's still on the same sense as to where you're a professional. And if you can play the part, like honestly, I think that's why I get so many gigs is because, I know what to do. Mm-hmm. I know how to be. I know how to dress. When I show up at the one place that literally, the ones you saw the pictures of last weekend where I had the fedora on and the vest, I knew that's what they wanted, to the point where the manager goes, man, if the owner was here, he would love the way you're dressed. Where other people just come in with a polo shirt on or jeans or a t-shirt,
mm-hmm.
And it's that sort of thing. So I know how to work everything, the crowd, the people, the music.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game. It's all a game to me. That's why I say that what we do isn't difficult. It's just you work it. That's all. And I'm sorry if I sound negative or too much, whatever. But I think I think it goes together because that same mentality can be done with the crowd, can be done with all the things that you and Dan are about to talk about in the same sense, but just focused to a different person.
Well, but in the same respect, I think, from my experience when I was doing like some of the bar scenes and that, you talked about catering to the owner and you talked a manager and the other DJs if it's that type of a setup. I think it becomes down to one of those things is you're knowing what they're looking for. You said it. You need to know where they want to be, and so sometimes we often think, oh, we're catering to that crowd. We're whatever. You might have a situation, at least from what you've said, where there is an owner or a manager or the hiring person, we'll put it that way, blanket statement there, that is wanting you to be that crowd participation person, at least because not crowd participation, but I mean like getting the reaction from the crowd. That's what I was trying to get for. Because I remember when I was really trying to get into it and work it a little bit, that was really the push that they were going for, was they were trying to get somebody that could create that following that was going to bring people into that place. Now I know that's not the case.
Yeah, people don't do followings anymore. There's no such thing as hiring a DJ for a following.
Well, and that has gone out the window. But it was the idea that they wanted you to create the crowd reaction. And some of the and at that time there was the following too, but the crowd reaction was the piece that they were looking for. But again, it's knowing what they're looking for.
Yeah, you have to do that in the weddings, but in a slightly different way is all. You're still working the crowd.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, it's not. I don't want to say it's not. That could be what the owner's looking for. Whereas when you get into the weddings, it's I don't want to say it's expected, but it's a little bit more forefront.
All right, I want to share a story with you, and then I want you to think about this question and answer it. Okay. If you had a bride and groom that liked what you were doing, and the crowd at that wedding liked what you're doing, but the venue owner didn't like what you were doing, would you change what you do to get more gigs there? Think about that for a second. Here's a good example of switching things up that I have to deal with in my world. Got hired at a lounge at one of the casinos, thought they wanted kind of lounge music, went and saw other DJs and what they were playing, and I'm like, okay, they want a little more down tempo, kind of chilled out, it's a lounge. And I'm there one night and I start playing, and the vice president of marketing just happens to be there, and I start and he goes like, oh, did you change the format? And I'm like, no, I kind of thought this is what you guys wanted, like chill out. I said, that's what the other people are playing. It's like, no, we want the same stuff that's on the speakers before you guys start. And I'm like, that's all like house music, dance, like all 100%, 120 to 130 BPM dance music. I'm like, oh, I can do that. So I started playing that stuff. He's like, this is perfect, exactly what we want. So I started talking to the sound guy afterwards, and he's like, he goes, I guarantee he saw your ability to change up that quickly and just do what he wanted. That impressed him. I guarantee it. So it's not seen as that I did what he said, but it made more of an impression to that guy that I was able to change up and be what he needed me to be. So that's where I want to take it to you and the people that you're playing for. Would you switch up for one way or the other? What you're doing, your style of wedding, or do you just go with your style of wedding and you are you no matter what?
So to a degree, yes. Yes, in that my style has gotten refined to the point that when people hire me, they have an understanding of what they're getting. It's not a secret per se, it's not one of those things where they get me and, oh, we want to do this, so I completely go over to this end, or we want to do this, I completely go over to that end. Like they, in the conversations and the reviews and stuff like that, they have an idea of the type that I am. Now, with that being said, you mentioned about the venue wanting to go a different, if the venue came up and said something, or the owner came up and said something, I think there is an area where I would kind of change to a degree. So for example, there's a couple venues that I have really good working relationships with, and to the point that I'm on their list. Like I'm on their list of 3 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the reasons that I've become on their list is because of the style that I do. If I started creating a party that was getting out of hand, that was either that had tipped the scale too much into the drunken raging type of party and away from the we're having fun, we're drinking and we're partying, and they said, hey, can we kind of calm it down a little bit? There are directions and pieces that I would go to bring that energy to a more comfortable level for everybody, but not completely abandon it. So I'm not going to change my direction completely, but I am going to tweak it to keep them happy, because when it's all said and done, they're cleaning up the mess, not me. So,
right. Well, what if the owner come up and said, oh, this is a good example. I had a couple of places when Mobamba came out, they said, do not play that song here. What if the owner of the venue or manager came up and said, you know, I know your wedding wants this Mobamba stuff, but we don't allow that here. What would you do then?
I can honestly say I can't think of a single wedding venue in this area that would step in that far.
Okay. That's good. That's good to know, because people out there probably thinking about that. Yeah.
And and we have had
John.
that. Yeah, we have had situations like where the venue has over the years, and that has cost me events, because typically it's been in a situation where they have wanted something that just was not in the health of the party. So we didn't. I would not do that for whatever that was, and it has over the years cost me some referrals from venues. There's one barn that was in the early '90s, and they wanted things done a certain way, and the bride didn't want it done to have the things done that way. And we had the conversation with her in advance to make sure, and she's like, "Yep, I don't want to do it that way." The manager's like, "We always do it," or the owner was like, "We always do it that way here." And it's like, "Can you talk to her, please, because she really doesn't want to do it." She goes, "No, you will do what I say, or you'll never play there again." It's like, well, guess I won't be coming back now, will I? So it has happened.
See, I love that dynamic. Yeah, perfect.
Well, and there are certain places. There's one place in particular that two places now, but one place in particular where I played a few times, and I shouldn't say no. I am pretty confident that I am on their list of people not to call. Like they're you know, if they're given an option to kind of say, hey, these are the people to call, and this is one of the people not to call, I have a feeling I'm on that list. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is because I wasn't willing to play their game. This is a place that puts the DJ up in a loft area, and the only way to get up to that said loft area is a spiral staircase.
Ooh. I think you shared a picture of that once.
I have. I've been very vocal about this particular place without naming it. But it's one, and to the point that, you know, I'm like, my equipment, like to try and fit up the steps. Oh, well, we'll use ladders, and there's a gate that opens in front of like the thing, and we'll help you get it up there. And I'm like, no, like, she's like, but the speakers can be down on the floor anymore. My rack weighs more than the speakers, and we're not even talking the booth situation. We're talking just like my normal rack weighs more than the speakers. I'll take speakers up there before that other piece. But it was one of those things where, to me, it's possible to be on the floor, but they're just playing. But the venue owner has this idea that, sorry, that's not where DJs go. Mm-hmm. And so because there was 2 weddings in a row, the first one where originally I was supposed to be in a different spot in the venue, so it was agreed upon that I could be on the floor. And then the second one, I said, well, I was on the floor for the last one. How about this one? Okay. And that was the last wedding I worked there, and it's probably been 5 years. This was a place I played at least once or twice every year to 2 years. So that's what makes me believe that. But, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, when we're looking at the referrals, at least around me, venues are gold. It really is. You know, part of the reason why I think that is the case is because we're in a situation where by the time a couple comes to us, not in all cases, right? I will say there are some DJs out there that have built up the reputation that the couple will go to them first. But more often than not, I feel and I could be wrong, but more often than not, I think we're in a situation where the venue is one of the first places that is picked, and we're somewhere on the list after that.
Mm-hmm.
So the couple has put a lot of trust in the venue to create a look that they're looking for, a theme they might be looking for, or just the availability of extra things that are around it to say, we want to be there, that they've given their trust to them for that. So for them to say, okay, well, here's some people that we recommend, they've already built the trust, and now you're like the best friend that comes along, and they're your wingman, right? They come along and say, hey, we've got to tell you about this cool guy over here, the girl over here that we just absolutely love, and we want to introduce you. It's almost to that extent, and that's why I feel sometimes that becomes the best referral that you could ever have.
What you said, some do, some don't. Both you guys, what do you think percentage of DJs out there who make a full living off of just clients and no venues? Is there any, or do you think most DJs you've spoken to have both? Or
I think that the some of the higher end price wise DJs, I think that they are client referral driven. I don't think that while the venues may appreciate them. Speaking from experience, when I was the highest priced DJ, the next person was $1,000 less than I was, if not more. The venue stopped referring us, not because we did a great job. That we did that, but the problem was that we were in their views, and the one manager said, "I'd love to be referring you, but you take too much money out of their budget, and that's money that they could be spending having an open bar." And I have clients coming in saying, "Hey, we're gonna have we gotta have John and such, but we're not gonna be able to do an open bar tonight because and that became a reality."
Money. That's something that a lot of DJs probably never took into consideration. What am I worth? Am I worth more to the venue getting money in their pocket or in my pocket?
But I also think it depends upon the venue. And what reason why I say that is because if you get one of your high-end venues, they want the high-end everything. They want the high-end DJ, they want the high-end photographer in there, they want all the high ends because we want to be seen as that top of the line. But I can see completely where it could backfire for all of your mid-price areas, and definitely your low-priced ones. Although your low-priced ones probably just don't care anymore.
Oh, the irony of it is I had gone back through the contracts. I did a show last spring or whenever it was about contracts, and you go back and look at where we were doing the shows, and I had VFWs in there. I had American Legions in there. Somebody's backyard in those $2,000 to $3,000 contracts, and it surprised me. And we would consider those kind of the lower end venues, but the clients that were there, they were wanting to invest in a party. That was priority to them. So that brought me to the stage for them. Some of the other venues that 5 years earlier that I was playing, the Radisson and the Holiday Inn and the some of the resorts that I was performing at, those all went to the wayside. And I look at the pictures, and they have some okay DJs. I mean, they're not high end DJs. Their systems are there's the things that are in the Ugly DJ Facebook group. Sometimes you see some of those types of systems there. I mean, it's not a consistent appeal in our area. Now, you look at some of the areas like where Mark Beecher and Jim Cerrone work down in Indianapolis. They've got those beautiful venues, and that is a venue where you would not put somebody bringing in two speakers on an old beat up speaker stands type of thing. Different world.
Let's take a look here that I think it goes with what we talked about on last week's show about school dances. What about other events than weddings? How does that work when it comes to referrals and stuff for you guys on proms, birthday parties, corporate events, stuff like that?
So when it comes to school events, that really comes down to one of two directions. So one direction is the previous advisors or previous connections that you've made. The teacher knows, hey, by the way, you helped out with these types of events before. This is my first go around, so I don't really know who to use. Who is your collection of people? And so that's one direction that they go. Another direction and this kind of depends upon the philosophy that the advisor has. So if an advisor has, hey, I want to give you some suggestions, that's where that comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is, you know what? This is you guys' prom. I'm here to make sure you don't make any stupid mistakes, but you reach out to people, you find out who you want, and you go after it. And then it comes down to, how did they hear about you? Social media presence. Did you do marketing to the school, to the groupings? Did you do, what is your presence, and where might they have seen you in other things, in other capacities? So it definitely becomes more of the multitude of areas.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, when it's the kids that are doing it, the students that are doing it, it's all over the place where they're hearing from you and how they're going after you.
See, and I would see in our area, we have high school. There's three dances. We have homecoming, we have snow day, and we have prom. Prom is basically, that's the one where advisors will talk to advisors from the same school or from different schools, and many a times it's from different schools. And I'll get a call from someone and say, hey, I was talking to you do whatever school over there, and we're looking for a quote for prom. Yay. Occasionally there'll be a student who has seen us at a different school, but 9 out of 10 inquiries, because last spring I think we had 5 different schools that had called to get quotes from prom, and it was because of working with other schools' advisors and having that connection. Homecoming and snow days are 2 different beasts when it comes to that. That is one where the referrals generally are, I'll do a homecoming dance like I did a couple of weeks ago. Kids from other schools will be there, and then they'll go back and talk to their snow days, because snow days and homecoming here are generally student council, where prom is junior class. So then we get the call in the wintertime from the school, this other school that is like, hey, we heard from one of our students that you did a really good job, and they're really excited, and they want to get some numbers from you. So I think there's 2 different, in our part of the country, there's 2 different driving forces when it comes to referrals from proms. The only time I've ever really had anything from a prom is when I've had kids who have gotten married like that summer. And I have had a couple of times where I've done the prom and I was doing their wedding later that summer. and you see the same type of, the same group of kids. There's many of them there, but it doesn't happen too terribly often. And I did have one from a prom where the gal came up and she says, you'll be doing my wedding someday. And then, a few years later, when she did get married, she had, I was the DJ for her wedding, but proms have never really been a strong student-based referral area. Homecomings and even the snow days dances have done better. And ironically, homecomings have led to non-school dances quite often over the years. There'll be some advisor or some parents there. They're like, gosh, you did a really great job. And can you do this? I've had more bar shows off homecoming dances over the years in our area, which are not club shows. It's, there's a bar and people are drinking and there's tables around doing shots. And then there's like 4 feet by 4 feet our dance floor. That kind of thing.
We call those bars.
Yeah, that's what.
Because a bar is focused on being a bar. There's bars with dance floors. There's restaurants with, after the kitchen closes, dance floors. There's lounges. There's all these different things. But what you're talking about when it comes to a bar is a bar. When I talk about a bar, I'm talking about it's that during the day, but about 6 or 7 p.m., all the chairs, everything gets moved out from one end to the other, and it is just a shoulder-to-shoulder crowd of drunken 20-somethings.
Yeah.
All night long.
Yeah. And that's certainly not in our area. As a rural part of the state, they are here, but they're in larger towns than I work.
It's interesting you talked about the referral homecomings and snow days and then landing proms, as I think at a couple of the different schools. So one district near me has their senior classes in charge of their winter formal and is also in charge of their prom.
Oh,
so occasionally they'll, and we're talking, they're only about 5 months apart. So occasionally what ends up happening is they look for a twofer.
Sure.
Like, listen, we're going to hire you for both, how can you work this out for us? But then there's another school who their sophomore class gets their winter formal, their junior class does their prom. So sometimes it's you did a great job. All right, we want you next year for prom. And there was one district in particular where I did that. I did their semi-formal or their formal, their winter formal, and then ended up doing their prom. And while I was getting all those arranged, I had the advisor hand me to next year's sophomore. So it was like a winter formal, nothing, winter formal, and prom. And it was kind of a weird, kind of like almost back and forth the way you start working with different advisors in that. We don't have, I mean, our student councils do some things obviously with dances, but it's definitely more the class groupings that hold the dance portions around here.
That is
I had a homecoming once that was booked by the cheerleader squad. They were in charge of everything. I thought that was kind of unique.
John, I got one question for you, kind of circling back to weddings for a moment.
Yeah.
One of the things that I feel like I'm starting to run into, and I think it's going to start to maybe turn a corner back the other way, but I talked about venues for me is the big key. And I love the fact that I can make an impression on a venue, that I can get that connection that leads to the future. But one of the problems that I'm starting to have, especially with all these barn weddings, is I don't see the owner. I don't see a manager. Like I might make a phone call and I might make a connection from that point, but they're not there. Yeah. Like they rented a space and they're long gone for the weekend, type of attitude. So as the barns continue, I don't know if they're starting to dwindle or not.
I don't think so. I think this is going to be here for a while.
Yeah. But as the barns continue, being able to stay that connection through a venue, I'm starting to kind of try and create some other key referral pieces. Whether it's photographers more than anything else. Like I feel when it comes to referrals, venues is first for us. Venues is first, photographers is second, and then because florists is different. They're awesome, don't get me wrong, but when it comes to referral, they're not going to help you because they're not there either.
No, they're not.
So do you find yourself looking for something? Have you started to think about that yet?
Well, this is where it goes back to what MJ had talked about, where you do it online, and these barns have Facebook pages, they have Instagram pages, they have Pinterest pages most of the time, and liking and sharing and engaging on those. The two calls last week came from barn type venues. One is a full barn, one of them is kind of a modified. They both came because of me doing exactly what MJ said, is that they would put up a beautiful picture and I'm hey, I love this. This is awesome. Being that person who's that positive reinforcer of some of their quality things that they're offering, and then sharing some of the appropriate things through my channels also. So that has been a big thing because, as you say, they're not there half the time. Or if they are, they're so busy running and then they're gone once we're started, they're gone. And then they don't come in until the very end. And as they come in to sweep as we're carrying the last speakers out. So I think that online connection is huge when it comes to that.
My last two notes on mine were be present online. And that means put a good presence of yourself online for others to find, and then share others' posts. Tie into you being kind to share their post. They go, let's check this guy out, girl out. They go over there and they see nice posts there. Besides theirs, they see a good presence. And both of those tie together really well because you have to be good in person, and online's important nowadays. So if you can pull both of those off, you have a strong whatever you want to call that. So yeah, that's good that you tied that in. Dan, what do you think about that and the stuff that you do? I know we're getting close to the end here.
You mean about sharing and liking and all that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's definitely key. I mean, there's a couple different directions that you go, but the tagging that you're doing within Instagram, the liking that you're doing, the being where they are, because it's one of those things that when you click that little heart, guess whose name shows up beside it, at least for a little bit. So when they're scrolling through and they're checking out that page, guess who's on that page also? Yeah.
Or if they have notifications set up, they go, ding, there's your name.
Yeah.
Oh, he liked it.
For the venue, yes, but I'm talking about clients seeing
any of them,
you.
Yeah. Oh, looking through there. Oh, I like this venue stuff.
Where they're at.
Yeah, and you're down in the like, yeah.
Oh, so then you're using a strategy that every day you go in there and you unlike it and then you relike it, so then it's.
I don't know how that would work. That's an interesting thought. Because people,
I think it would tick off a bunch of venues because they'd be like, he liked that one already.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't he like that one? I know he liked that one yesterday.
They might block you. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be that.
With the last thing, John, do you have anything else? Because what I want to end with, I think, is each one of us giving a very quick advice on generating, like the topic title tonight, with generating referrals.
Well, the one area when I wanted to hit is, does pricing play into the game? And the place you do see the pricing play into the referral game a lot is in these little wedding groups on Facebook, where people are like, "Hey, I'm looking for a DJ for whatever date," and they'll be sharing, and "Hey, Joe does a good job and they're reasonable. Oh, they're really inexpensive." I went through and looked at one of them from 3 days ago, 97, 98, whatever it was, comments on it, each one sharing a different DJ name. And of those 97 or 98, half of them had reasonable or inexpensive or fits in your budget, will work within your budget, something monetarily. So half of the referrals mentions money. And that's what I'm wondering is that are we in a world right now where that is going to dictate the success of referrals is price? And I don't know if it will in your world, MJ, so much, because I think that you guys are hired for a specific reason. And I think that, the rates for most DJs are in that world are somewhat similar. And it's established that, okay, this is what we pay. You either take it or leave it. Yeah, so I don't know if
we have had ones like venues that have trouble finding a DJ, and we're like, because you're paying $150. They're like, well, that's a lot of money for us. I'm like, I understand that, but the place right next to you is paying me $250. Literally, the place next. Well, we can't afford that. I understand. I'm just saying that's why I'm turning it down. Not because I don't like you, not because anything. It's just I have to do this for my business, and that's about being there. That's a networking thing to help them understand that you still like them. That's me saying no. Don't take offense to that, because they may all of a sudden go, I think he's worth it, and they'll bring you in for that price.
Yeah, very, very.
Even if it's for a couple of weeks, you get. You know what I mean?
I think.
What do you think, Dan? Go ahead.
Well, I think I think it definitely plays into a key with that, but I also think it's more to do with those types of Facebook groups, because I've been in them. I not necessarily been in them, but I've been tagged on those types of things where it's a random place, it's a marketplace or whatever, and I look at that and there's 50 different DJs, 49 of them I've never heard of before. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of key that there is. I also look, occasionally I'll look through and I'll see the people that are referring. They'll have, certain things, and I'm betting they're not my ideal client. I used to worry and I used to kind of try and throw my 2 cents in. And now I might put a little quick comment. Hey, I'd love to talk with you. Reach out. And half the time they don't. Yeah. And occasionally when they do, it's not been listing about, there's been no talks about reasonable. What I love actually is sometimes when I get the whole reasonable and my prices on my website, so they can go and they can see what reasonable actually is. And then it becomes kind of funny, because then it's like, oh, he's reasonable and he's charging that. All right, I guess it's worth it.
Here's just something for you to throw out for those groups. I get tagged in those groups all the time for doing weddings. I never correct them that I don't do weddings, because that's free advertisement for me.
There you go.
My name's up there. They see it. If somebody wants to click on it, even though I don't do weddings, I'm not gonna say, oh no, I don't do weddings anyways. I'm like, leave it there. Working
so MJ, what was your quick question?
Yep. MJ, wrap us up.
No, I was just basically saying, let's finish up in your mind to answer the question: what drives the best referrals? As quick as you can. What do you think it is? That's what as we end up tonight. For people that you can just do a roundabout, whether you want to say it's for an experienced DJ, new DJ, whatever you think.
I think the biggest and the quickest way for any referral system is, and we've talked about this multiple times through our show, is the servant attitude. Being that type of a person, whether it's to the venue, whether it's to the client, whether it's helping out, being a team player. That's been something that's recent. Even Brian Red put something up recently about being the team player and that kind of thing. That right there is the key to your referrals. And again, insert wherever it is, at least from the wedding side, venue, client, other vendor. being that servant attitude, being the nice guy or girl. John?
So I think it kind of goes back to Dan, what you mentioned earlier about that, in essence, wow moment. I think that becomes being a servant and being a good person is there. But I think a lot of good people don't get referrals because they didn't do something that made people say, oh my gosh, that's cool. Whether that's touching them, touching their hearts during the first dance, or having this father-daughter moment that brings people, or an introduction that just knocks their socks off. I think that is the thing that'll catch attention. And then if you're a good person and can be that humble servant and such, that's going to get you there. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you get a client that doesn't want to do anything that can allow you to do a wow moment beyond the music on the dance floor. And those happen. I've had the times where I could wow with the microphone, and I've had times where it had to be on the music side of it. And sometimes the microphone side will stand out a lot more and lead to more referrals.
Best advice I could give you is carry cash and bribe people. Yeah, that works.
It does. This is America.
No, seriously, this is going to sound really stupid, but the easiest thing, first off the bat, is if you want to DJ someplace, go there. Hang out with the DJ. Talk to the owner. Be there on a regular basis, even if you just stop in for 10 minutes on your way somewhere else. Be there. I, no joke, have planned what I wore on if I go out a Friday night with something I'm wearing to hit these bars that I would like to DJ at. And if the other places I want to DJ at maybe have you dress up a little bit more, Saturday night I'll dress up a little bit more and go there and try to fit that part. So wherever you want to DJ, go there, work with just be a friend to the people. Start out simple, talking to them. Hey, how are you, so-and-so? Loved what you're doing. And just be a decent human being. And that's really going to go a long way when people are like, oh, that guy's kind of cool. And that could be a lot right there. Just be present and be nice, and again, work the angles if you have to. But be somewhere. You can't do it sitting at home.
Yeah.
But when you are at home, click like a lot. Like on this, like on this video that you're watching tonight, click like on it. It gets in front of more people and they become more educated, and it just makes a good community. Segue. See, I'm good at these things. I can work anything into anything. Sorry, I know that sounds fake, but it's just my person. I'm that way person anyway, so yeah. Sorry, John.
So
Dan,
coming up next at DJNTV.com/chill. I think I put the right link up. Howie is, they're going to be recording here in just a little bit. Techniques for a quick setup. So I'm guessing Brian Redd is going to be in on that. And there's going to be a whole crew, it looks like, with Howie tonight. So that'll be kind of a fun show for guys like MJ who like the 5-minute setup and the
I did like his setup, though, the picture he shared.
Listen, who doesn't like a fast setup?
Yeah. Not me. I like to take my time and 4 or 5 hours, because venues love that. Oh,
yeah.
They love that at the end.
My favorite is when I can beat the bride and groom out of the venue. Yeah. When my teardown's that fast.
And you've got something. Then you got something going. And then tomorrow night at 10 o'clock Eastern, then Brian and Jay are going to be doing their recording at 9 o'clock Eastern. We'll be running the show from last Monday. They'll be dropping here. Wednesday night, MJ, are you on this week?
No, because I have some really big events this weekend, really specialty events. In fact, I will be DJing for 12 hours on Saturday from 1 in the afternoon to 1 in the morning.
Wow.
All in one place?
Different places within the place. The one casino is rebranding, so it's a whole day of things. I'm outside with the bands during the day, and then in the lounge in the evening, and then in the club at night. So
it'll be interesting to hear more about that.
Yeah.
So then we'll have a couple of shows dropping Wednesday night also from the that are coming from the chill room again. 10 o'clock Mondays and Tuesdays. 10 o'clock Eastern, DJNTV.com/chill. Next Monday night, of course, is the next virtual training. So DJNTV.com/virtual expo will get you there, and you can check out the schedule and who's going to be on. It should be a fun night. So we're looking forward to that. And then, that should, I think that'll get us where we're going for tonight.
Good deal.
Excellent.
All right. Well, on that note, we do want to thank everybody for taking time out of their evening to join us and be a part of the show. And hopefully you learned new ideas to get some referrals, whether it be clubs, bars, school dances, weddings, whatever. Get that referral stream going so that you can get yourself hooked up. And remember, next week is the virtual training. So you do want to make sure you're tuned in for that next Monday night. Have yourself a great night. We'll see you next time.
Everybody.